Megalithamania II. This will be the second time that I've presented some of the information we've gathered here over the years of the podcast. I had to narrow it down to 4 spots. So on tonight's journey, we'll be going to Göbekli Tepe, to Belbeck, to Egypt, and then back to a land down under. At the start of this one, you'll get a snippet of an idea of how many different places on this planet have megalithic sites. It's pretty much all of them. So it's very hard to present this as a whole. Even the sites that we focused on tonight, I skimmed over a lot of information. Each site could easily be a presentation in itself, and probably deserves to be. However, what we're trying to do here is present a global picture. An understanding that there was a civilization that came before that was truly global in nature. From baseline spirituality practices to building techniques, there is definitely something that echoes across this globe. And the linchpin is potentially Australia, which is where I call home. However, potentially where many other cultures called home at one time or another. We have to put this puzzle together on a global scale though, and that is what I'm attempting to do here. I used a slideshow for this one, so I will be putting a video up on YouTube, and I will try and post the slideshow to Facebook and the Unlocking the Code page. I'll also send it to anyone who wants it. The thing is, when I looked at the size of the slideshow, it's 128 meg, so it's quite large. So if you want a copy, do not hesitate to DM me, contact me over Facebook or Instagram, and Unlocking the Code, the number 9 at gmail.com, and I'll happily send you a copy so you can have a look through the pictures that we were looking at. We haven't even scratched the surface with this one. However, it was an absolute pleasure to have Angus back in the studio, because me and him started this over 4 years ago. The first deep megalithic dives, the multi-hour study sessions were done with him. And it's always a pleasure to sit down with him and unpack this stuff and get his perspective. I'm going to leave it there. We're going to go with Rowdy again. Which 2 songs? I'm not sure. The ones we've got are wicked, and I'll just give you the 2 that come to me when I'm stitching this one together. As always, really appreciate your time. Really appreciate the time that you take to download this. Please spread the word. This information and this puzzle that we're joining together is truly unlike anything I've seen before. Okay, we are breaking new ground with this stuff. So if you could share it, let people know, give us a review on iTunes and any other apps that you download this on, that'd be very cool. Look after yourselves, stay safe, be kind, be cool, stay focused, and we'll talk soon.
Have I burned out? Have I blackened the ground? Will I fight back, find my strength again? Days have been gold, tomorrow losing their shine. Will I give up? I doubt it. I never turn to the bottle to wash away the demons in my mind. I stood up and knocked them down. Though I had a struggle till I seen the colored eyes of the kind. Now they have built me up. I've always had the answer. I'm not one to self-destruct. There's too many smiles that I love. And when my world comes crashing down, I get right back up. I take the brunt, I walk out of the road. Have I burned out? Have I blackened the ground? Will I fight back, find my strength again? Days have been gold, but tomorrow losing their shine. Will I give up? I doubt it. I never turn to the bottom to wash away the I fight back, find my strength again. Days have been gold, but tomorrow lose and less shine. Will I give up? I doubt it. Will I give up? I doubt it. Will I give it all away? No way.
G'day everyone, welcome back. It's a special night tonight because technically a few weeks ago we turned 4. So I decided to invite Mr. McDermott back to the refinery. How are you, man? It's been a little while. It's been a minute.
It's been a hot minute, my friend, and I am ecstatic to be back tonight. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited about what you've got to present me, my friend. You've been doing some fucking work.
I know, man. I've been putting in the yards.
Yeah, man.
I've been putting in the yards.
You've got me excited.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've sold it to me. You had my curiosity.
Yeah. So basically what we're going to do tonight, everyone, is Megalithamania II. Now, we're doing a few different things tonight. So there will be a video portion to this one. The video is currently recording. However, we had an epiphany, mate. We realised, because the problem in the studio has been we couldn't get ourselves in the frame. However, you probably don't want you to see us.
Why
and you
do
probably
we
don't
need to be
want
in
to
the
see
frame?
us either.
You don't need to see us.
Exactly.
It's bad enough when we see ourselves.
Exactly. We've got heads for radio, okay? So what we decided...
Bodies.
Yeah.
We got the whole shebang-a-bang for radio.
So what we decided is basically the camera is recording the screen in front of us, and I'll also release the slideshow onto whatever I can release it on, social media platforms, etc., for those to play along. So if you started listening to this and you don't have the slideshow, check Facebook. I will have posted it there. Okay, it might help.
What do you think? How do you think the slideshow is going to work at this stage? Is it going to autoplay, or is it going to be a series of photos that they can scroll along with?
It's a series of photos that they can scroll along with, okay? So basically I've got my magical clicker here.
Yes.
So I can go do whatever I want.
Right?
Right?
Oh, nice. Yes.
So,
very professional, Triff.
I've got it's a laser too.
Oh,
Look at
and
that.
the pointer.
But it doesn't work on the TV.
It doesn't? I was about to say, does it work on the TV?
It doesn't work on the TV.
You read my mind.
But we can point the laser at stuff. But yeah, basically, man, we had a bit of a discussion today. The Uncanny Valley in this podcasting / video audio world is when you are deep in a like I've noticed it when I'm doing the stuff with Zoom, like I did with Jock the other day and Muhammad. You get caught in the visuals, and it's hard to have a presentation conversation. That was the term that I coined this morning, and we're going to try and do that. So yes, this is a presentation that I'm presenting to you. However, we're going to cover some old ground, but we're going to come back to it with the twist of all that we've learned and some of the new stuff that I've learned. And we're going to look at things from a different perspective that I don't think you've looked at before. You may have. And we're just going to have a discussion. However, I've got points that I want to bring up and discuss. So I'm not going to say slide 1, slide 2, you know.
We almost need like the turn the page chime. Remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not going to do that. However, the conversation should unfold in that manner. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this, man. I think it is an evolution, and obviously it's, April, what a bumper month for the podcast as far as the guests are concerned. Muhammad back to
you've
back.
amazed me with the guests that you've pulled in here, man. Muhammad blew my mind with the stuff that he was bringing out.
Yeah.
And then we had Double Day coming down, doubling down.
Yeah, doubling down on Double Day, exactly. And yeah, he's a super cool dude, and I really look forward to talking to him again. And look, there's more in the works. I'll just put it like that. I'm in negotiations with some other really cool guests to continue the work that we're doing. We'll have Colin back as well. Colin was an unbelievable storyteller, and I'd like to hear more of his story as well.
Yeah, I've got to admit, man, I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I'm not sure quite why I'm here. It's always good to be in the room where you're the dumbest person in the room. So that's good. Maybe I'll move up from here.
That's all good, brother. I'm stoked that you're here. You know, I mean,
I'm here to learn, everybody.
Well, the thing, and that's what I said to you. I'm going to take you on a ride tonight because I've expanded, and we're only going to focus on 4 different things tonight. All right, because it's going to be enough anyway. You know,
because Triff's got 90 fucking slides.
90 slides for 4 things.
So there may be a slight amount of experimentation with this one as well, in terms of knowing what to put up. We may skip some.
Yeah, look, a lot of it is in some of the subject matter. A lot of it is just different perspectives of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's why I'm not going to say slide 2, slide 3.
Yeah.
You can, can you hear that? Can you hear the click? You might be able to hear the click. But that'll be me changing slides. However, let's get into it.
Quit banding around.
Yeah.
Come on.
Megalithamania II, an unlocking the code interpretation. I like that because that is all it is. Remember, we always have said here that we know nothing. And anything that we say, don't listen to us, number 1. But number 2, it's just a perspective, right? So the ideas that I'm going to share with you tonight, the knowledge I'm going to share with you tonight is me synthesizing an immense amount of data into my interpretation.
Your interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like it, man. Like we've always said, and I think what the everyday person has realised is the institutionalized information that was presented to us in such an absolute way for so long.
Yeah. Was
stands on a pillars of sand.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's just their perspective.
It's just their perspective.
Yeah.
They just say it in a absolute way.
And it's a steered narrative. That's the other thing too. That's the other, and this is, so we're going to go to 4 places tonight. Now, I thought I'd take it easy on you. I'm not going to do any weird stuff, right? We're going to go Göbekli Tepe, Belbeck, Egypt, and then we're going to come home.
Back to Australia.
And I've actually got photos. I'm going to, for the first time, show the best stuff that we found at Gympie.
Yep.
And talk about it.
Yep.
I'm also going to put up photos of the imprint at Jinnabara.
Mm-hmm.
I took you. We saw that on the way back from Gympie that day.
Where we played with the snake.
What's in that puddle? No.
I don't know, Triff, but I'm going to get it out.
Yeah. I think it's a lizard. Yeah, it wasn't a lizard.
Oh, that's a some kind of tiger. No, it was a tiger. It wasn't a tiger snake. It's like a keelback.
Yeah,
but they call it like an eastern tiger or something.
Yeah, something like that. It
Night
wasn't
tiger.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Anyway, so we're going to go there, and obviously some of the Stonehenge stuff, and then Gosford glyphs, obviously, because that's come into it, and just some of the other work that's been going on around that as well, because I think that's important to share. So because we're only going to 4 places, what I thought I would do is give you and the listeners an understanding. When I say, and when we've said on this podcast and before, that there is a global megalithic civilization that once existed, the first slide we're going to look at is actually the known megalithic sites, the countries. Let me just run through them. Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Indonesia, Israel, Japan, Laos, Lebanon, Micronesia, South Korea, Syria, Tonga, Turkey, England, France, Germany, Spain, Bahamas, Costa Rica, Cuba, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, United States, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Peru, Greece, Ireland, Malta, Netherlands, Russia, Scotland, China's not on there, and Australia. So basically everywhere.
Breath, my friend. Yeah.
Basically everywhere. When we say there was a global megalithic culture, it's on every single continent, okay? There was a couple there, like China's not on that list, and they've definitely got some. There's so many.
Antarctica's not on that list. But, that's the kind of stuff that's coming with global warming. As we get glaciers melting, we're getting more evidence.
The ice is building, it's chasing the poles, but that's not for tonight. So, where we're going to start, Göbekli Tepe. Okay? I thought a map up there just to give people an idea of where it actually is.
Nice.
What I want you to look at too is where it is in relation to Syria, because that's going to come into play a little bit later.
Yep.
But when you see there, each one of those red dots there is a different site. Okay, so you've got Hasman Tepe, Sefer Tepe, Tazli Tempe, Navali Kori, Urfa, and then Göbekli Tepe.
Yep.
Now, I thought we'd start
Pillar
43. Right? We know about
Enclosure
Pillar 43.
D.
Enclosure
Yeah.
D.
Nice.
We did an extended podcast on Pillar 43, and it's actually one of our better ones, so go back and listen to that one if you haven't already. And basically, the more that time has gone on since we did that episode, the more and more confirmation that Göbekli Tepe in itself is actually definitely astrologically aligned, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then that then leads the evidence of that Sweatman and Sixricus came up with on their paper is more and more likely that that is actually what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So just to remind people that it's basically a pillar representing the cataclysm 12,800 years ago, in whichever form that took. Okay. The solar flare thing seems to be gaining momentum at the moment. I'm going to give it its due diligence. I've decided about. See, the thing is for me too, and I haven't run this by you off the mic, so I'm going to run it by you now.
Yeah.
So we're saying that, Halloween is potentially us celebrating the end of the world, right?
Yep.
We've also heard along the way that the meteorites come out from behind the sun during that time, during the Taurid meteor stream at the end of October into November.
Yeah.
The meteorites are coming from behind the sun. What if it was both? What if a bunch of stones flew through the sun or something and dragged a massive EMP pulse or a solar flare with it? You know what I mean? Everyone's going, it was solar. What if it was both?
Yeah. Look, it's hard to say what the effect, say, a comet flying close to the sun could have.
Yeah.
But definitely, possibly, without someone to say no, possibly, or just a massive coincidence. And to add to that the other day, because I was actually thinking about how you could have like a comet breaking up or multiple particles coming at the Earth. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about it and I thought, well, what if something, big meteor, comet, you name it, whatever cosmological entity you want to have, or one of these like Oumuamuas that just come out of nowhere, or what if something that comes from outside flew in and when it passed through the toroid meteor stream,
picked up a heap of crap along its way,
hit something, and now it's created a stream of debris that's then hit over that 1,000 odd years of the Younger Dryas, sort of thing. That was just a little theory a little thought that I had the other day,
and that could definitely be the case. Obviously the Hiawatha crater didn't make it onto the list tonight. However, that's something we're still waiting on results for that. Basically, at the end of the day, the Hiawatha crater, we don't have conclusive ice cores to say what the dating is of that crater. However, if that's the smoking gun from 12,800 years ago, then it could be both, right? And remembering, I suppose, things to take away from Göbekli Tepe, you can see the alignment, the astrological alignment up on the screen there. Yep. That's probably the most pertinent one that we've got. That's the most proof that I see, okay? And, that the circle that the bird is holding is actually representative of the sun. Obviously, there's the handbags there, the multiple different types of animals, right? And the other thing about Göbekli Tepe, there's Pillar 57 is very, very fascinating as well. I haven't seen any work specifically on Pillar 57.
See, 57, that's not in the mainstream.
No. So basically, during this research, I zeroed in on it, and I basically started to take like 3 or 4 pictures of every pillar. Mm-hmm. Then I'm like, hang on a minute, we've got 150 slides just on Göbekli Tepe. So I held back.
Might need to back a little bit.
But there's more to discover at Göbekli Tepe. There's more to think about there. Mm-hmm. However, what I wanted to focus on, and we'll just go that. There you go. There's Pillar 43 in all its glory. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually got a cover over it now, so it doesn't. There's a big shelter over it now.
Yeah, they've built a shed over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid that tinfoil hat stuff. However, if we're to believe Pillar 43, then the stars above Göbekli Tepe are exactly the same, because remember that 4 dates. It matches 4 dates, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and there's something interesting here too. Was it 20,000 years ago? Now, these won't be accurate because I'm pulling it out. Check the podcast. The dates are accurate. 20,000, 12,800, 4,000, right? The interesting thing about 4,000 is that there's a couple of bits of research about Masonic stuff that I've been doing, as you well know, and they talk about 4,000 BC as something, right?
Yes, yep.
And then today, okay? And the question I think we ended that podcast on is the most pertinent date that Pillar 43 represents today.
Yeah.
Because that would represent we're in, if it's 20,000, 12, we're in a cycle, right? And it's an interesting question.
Definitely.
But where I wanted to go is the Pot-Bellied Hill.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to show you some vantages of Göbekli Tepe that you may not have seen before.
Right.
Mainly because the pillars are very interesting. However, logistically for me, the interesting part is how the fuck did they fill it?
Yeah, yep.
Right? And the reason I wanted to show you this too is you can see all the braces, right? You can see all the braces of the T-shaped pillars.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been like that originally.
No.
Right?
No, we've put them in.
Yeah, we've put them in. And you can actually see they've built stones around to keep the stones standing up.
Yep.
But I'm pretty sure they found most of them standing up. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
You can see there's obviously broken ones there as they're trying to move them. The thing is, with Klaus Schmidt unfortunately passing away, we lost the leader of that excavation. So
also back when it was buried, like you said, how did they do it?
How?
What amounts were they putting in at one time? I'm looking here at the mix-up of the material in the walls.
Yeah.
There's pretty large stones in those walls in terms of like maybe up to 200 sort of mil.
Yeah.
8 inches.
Yeah.
Sort of 8-inch little boulders. So if you're, throwing this stuff in, depending on how they did it and what volumes they put in at once, you may have got zones around that were more compacted and then looser zones in other areas, which would cause movement over time with settling, which would then put geological pressure
pressure and strain onto some of those T-shaped pillars, which
some
would break
of
them. Absolutely.
those stones.
And my question, especially in this picture in particular, is that what's at the bottom of the big hill?
Right? Where the One Tree Hill
up
the
back. The One Tree Hill up the back there, right? It's like I would be digging straight down there.
Yep.
Now, this is enclosures A, B, C, and D, and that's the main stuff that's been excavated. Mm-hmm. They estimate anywhere between 25 to 60 other circles are actually underneath the ground still through ground penetrating radar.
It was 5% or so, wasn't it?
Yeah, 5%.
That has been unearthed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's 95% more to go.
Yeah.
And, that's a fairly large site for alone. That
it
5% there for hunter-gatherers to construct.
Yeah.
If that's what we want to go. If not, obviously we don't want to go with that, but, if that's what we're going to go with.
If they're hunter-gatherers in war paint and loincloths and they're, taking one rock at a time.
Yeah. That's quite a grandiose structure right there. Mm. And then you add another 95% on top of that.
Exactly.
That is massive. That's a complex.
How did they fill it?
Yeah.
And they filled it prior to the second cataclysm, the 11,600 one.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
But going back, actually, I just had a thought. Going back to what we were talking about before, because the evidence in carvings and bits and pieces does really suggest a solar thing. What if we got hit by a meteorite first, and the solar flare cleaned it up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
what time period? What
you
got
the 12,800 one.
And then the 11,600.
They're the two major. That's it.
Yes,
right?
the start and the finish of the Younger Dryas.
Yeah. So what if one was a, external impact
Yep.
and the other one was a solar flare?
There's no reason why it couldn't be. It's all we got to do is find a fucking shred of evidence that points in that fucking direction.
So here's another one, right? So this is I like this one because you can actually see the fill in the walls a bit better in that.
Yep.
And you're right. It's not small stuff. Okay. There's a lot of loose dirt, but there's what we would call in Australia boulders, basically. Fist shape type stuff.
Definitely.
And it's not. I, for whatever reason, thought it was a bit looser than this, but it's not, obviously. You can see where they've built some of it up. Like, I think some of this here looks like it's been built to support the pillar. Right?
Yeah.
So it's been done during the excavation.
Yep.
I'm more looking at the edges and that sort of stuff for evidence of what the actual fill was,
Yeah.
But it's fascinating. But look how deep it is. I mean, if we look, you've got the downstep there, and then it looks like it sort of goes up the hill. I mean, that wall has got to be at least, 1.8, 2 meters, you would say, roughly. Could be even higher. The perspective's interesting.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Like, you're judging off
that
the
pillars,
well, also off the walkway, because we haven't stood next to a pillar.
Yeah.
But that walkway, that's constructed for humans to walk on.
Yeah.
So it's like, Look, I'm going to say that back wall we're looking at, I'm going to reach into 3 meters sort of territory, like 10 foot sort of zone. And if you look at the way that the pillars are positioned, they still originally used the gradient of that hill.
Yes.
Because it's all sloping down, those middle ones that are in the focal...
I think that's one of the questions that doesn't get asked, mate, is that the case? Or was this once a temple that sat on its own ridge and they completely filled it in? Like, what is the function? How did they actually do that? Because, I mean, you've moved dirt for most of your existence. I've spent most of my life in logistics. We understand the cubic footage and the machinery that you would need to do this today.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And like I said...
And a percentage of it would still have to be done by hand today.
Yeah. With if they've built all those stack stone little walls, if they were original, if they're not from now, that's handwork. You got to bring loads of that stone in.
I did try and find out whether they were or not. There was no either way. It was like, some of it, like if we go to, I mean, there's another one, right?
I'm going to say a lot of it is because if you look at the way it curves around different things.
Maybe it is original.
I think it's original.
Could be.
And they've just cleaned down
If you look down to the bottom and left of the corner, there's the fill there. So you can see that edge there.
Yep.
That would be the fill, which is what I thought it would have been.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then it's even looser, which means it's even more difficult to transport, realistically. To fill in. And fill it in, yet still keep them aligned.
Yeah.
Like, that takes care, but it also takes, that's a lot of hunter-gatherers with armfuls of dirt.
Yeah, exactly. With coconuts and carrying
gourds,
whatever they're using to carry the dirt, whatever implements, in their shirt.
In their shirt, yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, it's just such a fascinating question. The next question I've got is what's under those boxes, because it's like, why are those ones covered up?
Why are they boxed up? That's a good point.
Yeah. What's under the boxes?
Yeah.
You can see in the back along the walkway, there's a bit more of an example of the fill.
Yeah.
Look, this isn't a we have an answer. However, it's just more. This is a very, very interesting question to me. Because not only do the carvings, not only does the hunter-gatherers who made Göbekli Tepe understand geography, mathematics, astronomy, construction, engineering, the list goes on, they also had an ability to carefully fill. However, at the same time, they filled it, yet it was perfectly preserved. So it was like, if they just chucked dirt on it forever, right, we both know what would happen. Eventually it'd just fall over, and these pillars would have exposed themselves a long time before now.
Yeah, exactly. You get subsidence.
Yeah. So Not only have they filled it, but they've filled it professionally.
In layers, compacted it. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, otherwise you'd get subsidence.
And how many bits of machinery would we need to do it now?
Oh, looking at that site and remembering that that's 5%.
Yeah.
We would have huge diggers and probably 15, 20 of them.
Yeah.
Of different machines of different types.
Dump trucks.
Maybe trucks.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But then,
probably graders, compactors.
Yeah.
Rollers, the list goes on.
That's right.
As to what the list of machinery we would need
what
to
we
use.
would use.
Yeah.
And, you would have to have in your job description for this project, you would have to have care to be taken over the top of production. Because if you start just tipping fill from the side and pushing it in with a dozer,
you can't.
Everything's going down.
Like
it's all getting demolished.
See, this to me doesn't look original.
That to me, well,
looks like it's been built as a supporting wall. That to me.
There's two ways we could look at it. That was done when they were backfilling to take care and support it.
True. Actually, do you know what? They did the same thing in the tunnels in the Bosnian pyramid. They actually shored up the walls before they filled it in.
Yep.
Boom.
So that's a possibility.
Yep.
Or has it been done recently?
Has it been done recently?
To
shore up.
Do the same thing, to shore the pillars.
However,
that's a piece of information we don't have.
We don't have. However, when I get the Jock Doubleday video out, there's a very similar on the sides of those tunnels, a very similar type formation. Obviously, very different because it's in the jungle. However, just that loose,
just that loose
rock.
stack.
That one was mainly for the bracing that they have to do, and to have a think about. Like you can see the slot that one sits in. Mm-hmm. Think about for a second, that would have been standing upright.
Yeah.
So I wonder how deep the slot is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm thinking that when I look at this stuff, and it's another good example of the fill there you see in the middle.
Yes.
I'm looking at this stuff and going, it hasn't been fully excavated properly. Right.
Yeah.
And if you look at the back there's probably more evidence to say that some of that stacking is original because you can see the dirt in the fill there.
Yeah. You see the block in the middle looks like fill material, and then the wall at the back between those two pillars,
loose stacking in it.
It's been stacked, but you can tell that they've used like brushes to clear the dirt away from them.
Yeah. So it could be column A, column B type stuff.
Yeah. Well, hang on. Here's the fucking smoking gun, dude.
Smoke the sandbags there.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's so. The stacked stone, I'm going to say, is old school.
And
those sandbags, man,
they're not.
They're the new stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
That's it. I think.
There's another. I mean, just the scale. I think. Have you seen this perspective of Göbekli Tepe before?
No, I haven't seen these photos before, man.
No, I dug for these, man, because it was important to show a different perspective, and because I think we spend an inordinate amount of time on Pillar 43. Mm-hmm. There's so many more.
Yeah.
And so many different types of carvings. As I say, I could dedicate 10 slides to each bloody pillar, and we'd be here all night.
Yep.
We may be anyway, considering how long the story is. However, it's not a problem.
Well, man, I'm seeing some other cool anomalies getting around. Bottom right-hand corner on that big pillar, in the bottom right-hand corner of the photo. Is that a drilled hole?
It looks like a hole, doesn't it?
A core drill?
It looks like a hole, yeah.
And I'm on the last slide, if you go back, in the right-hand side of the screen, there's another block embedded in the wall there.
There's a hole there.
With a round hole in it.
That has got a hole in it.
Now, these are fucking, ancient, uncivilized people.
Yeah.
That constructed this, They're
magical chisels,
the
man.
Dawn of civilization.
Yes.
The absolute dawn. They've reset the history books.
That's very interesting, that block there with the circle in it. I didn't actually notice that before.
Yeah, it looks like a subwoofer box.
Does a little.
But yeah, so, that's nice.
Yeah, so look, there's not too much more to say on the fill. This is more of a, there's more questions to be asked.
Yeah.
And the fact that they filled it in and they filled it in so carefully actually proves again, advanced knowledge.
Advanced knowledge and the admiration for this site.
Absolutely.
There was an absolute admiration for what this provided to them.
And we technically need to remember as well that it was built and buried in that 12,000 to 11,600 period.
Yeah, exactly. So whoever did this
They
has
built
gone,
it.
okay, look,
It's coming back. Whatever's coming is coming back.
we put all the stuff in,
Yeah.
like the information,
Yeah.
right, that we needed to.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is the stone wasn't as solid as we thought we needed it.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to build something more solid next time.
Or is it the
next time
same?
we might stack 2.5 million fucking stones on top of each other, because whatever's coming ain't moving that
That's
puppy.
right. Nothing's going to move.
It's not going to move that dog. And
Yeah.
we'll put all the information into that. The
Yeah.
alignments,
Yes.
the sizes, the
Yes.
speeds,
Yes.
all of those measurements
Yes,
that
they
can
go
be
into that.
pulled out of that pyramid.
Well, and this is because I've got maps at the start of each section, when we start to have a look at going around, it's all in this sort of similar place, man. You know what I mean? There was a cradle of civilization there. There was an advanced civilization in that area.
Oh, 100%.
It's undeniable, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it blows my mind moving past, and I suppose I've got the confidence now to start conducting my own research, I suppose, instead of just relying on articles. I go searching for what I want to see.
Yep.
And I'm looking for the papers that I want to read to give me that input data.
Mm-hmm.
And Göbekli Tepe is so fucking amazing. I don't think we grasp it because it's in the bottom right-hand corner of Syria, and that's not exactly a tourist destination right now.
No.
And because of, as I say, unfortunately, Klaus Schmidt, may rest in peace. However, it stopped after that, right? The accelerated excavation came to a halt after he passed away. And if it's only 5%, imagine what it has got to teach us, right? But it takes us looking past our hubris and devoting, archaeologists and anthropologists and archaeoastronomers and just sending on that site until it was done.
And funding. For all of that. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's going to be an uphill battle.
It will be. However, I hope that it continues. I wanted to give it an overhead view of the site because that gives us a different perspective as well. Right? So obviously the bracing that we see is in the top there. Okay?
Yep.
Gives you a bit more...
there's some alignments.
Yeah.
Yes.
A, B, C, and D. Okay? I'll just go forward a bit because this is where the pillars are.
Okay.
All right? So you can see there, pillar 43.
Hold sighting stone.
There you go.
That's the one.
That's the one, right? So there is a hold stone there, okay? So that hold stone is actually next to pillar 43. So pillar 43 is that top, basically the top one straight there, where the brace is. The left of the brace that's where it is there. That's pillar 43.
Yep.
And that's right next to the hold sighting stone.
Yep. Yeah, the Vulture Stone, 43.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I see what you're talking about.
But yeah, look, that's all we've excavated so far.
Mm-hmm. It's funny when you think about it in terms of how there's different circular zones.
Mm-hmm.
You could think about it like, so pillar 43, there's evidence that it could tell story of the cataclysm.
Yeah.
Right? So what if each one tells a different thing? Each site, A, B, C, D, tells a different story of a different time.
Different era. Different epoch.
That the builder civilization thought was important to remember.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. With all this stuff, again, getting some of this, because I was basically looking for images to show the fill. That was the question, right? Is that because of obviously logistically?
Yep.
But through that looking, I had to pull back because it's like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm spiraling down that hole where I'll never,
Well, and it's very easy to spiral from afar, because it's like without having the ability to be there, and you can get lost.
But there's many, many more secrets that Göbekli Tepe has for us.
Hundreds, dude.
Mm.
When this is all we've got excavated, and there's so much more.
Yeah. So from here, we go. I just wanted to touch on the hands. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is some of, I should have got which pillar this is. I didn't.
Yep.
So there you go. There's our first error report. I need to put what pillar this is.
Yep.
That one there, it's the H symbols there.
Yeah. Huh.
And the hands. Okay. Obviously, we see the hands at Easter Island.
Yep.
We see them in South America. We see them here in Australia. I think we see them in around Egypt and that as well. Okay.
Yep.
Those forward-facing hands. And that's actually, as far as I understand it, a representative of, that's a mother holding her
her
pregnant belly.
her tummy. Yeah.
Which is exactly what they do today. I know you know, both of them.
It's a very classic thing for them to do.
And that H symbol,
Yep.
the massive H is at Pumapunku. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's just some of the symbology that echoes around the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just a couple of different visions of that, and just to remember that again, how many countries are on that list at the start? I don't remember. You know, I couldn't even begin to rattle them off again. 20
billion,
right? So, but then we come to that's an Indigenous fella.
Yep.
Okay.
Australian.
The Wizard of Wagaya, a great medicine man of Central Australia, as the signs on his body show. He instructs tribes in mysteries. Now, I read one article. So basically, they said because of that the two hoops underneath and the thing in the middle,
yep,
that it was very similar to Australian Indigenous.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Because he just doesn't have the ends on his H.
He doesn't have the ends on his H,
yep,
right? However, the entire article debunked it because there's a H there, can't be Australian Indigenous.
Yep.
Well,
of course.
That's a variation of a symbol, okay? And I would actually argue that if you look at that pillar, that the edges that is actually the whole pillar.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't mean that that's actually necessarily a H.
No.
It could be the edges of that
It's
pillar.
the edges of the whole pillar, and that's actually separate. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
However, like we said in the beginning, very authoritatively, this thing, no, it's definitely not this because of this, right?
Yeah.
To me, that looks like that, and that is the edges of the pillar.
Yep.
No, I'm not saying it is Australian Indigenous. However, what I am saying is that the evidence is building of Australian Indigenous symbology echoing around the globe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's part of the larger work that we're doing here.
Or the global stuff echoing here.
Exactly.
Doesn't necessarily. It could come. It could
be the
come
other way
from
around.
here. It
Absolutely.
could come from there to here.
Absolutely.
It could just actually be global.
I think it is. I think at the end of the day, it's global.
Yeah.
Right. I think basic spirituality, symbology, it is global.
Yeah.
Thinking back too, though, looking at the back there, that's also more evidence that wall looks original. If you compare the stone to the wall, they're about the same age, aren't they? So that's definitely that hasn't been put there. That was there.
Yeah.
When it was buried.
They look very similar.
But yeah, that I just wanted to finish on that, and just the fact that one article goes, no, that's it. No, it's not. But to me, it looks like the edges of the pillar. If that's the case, then that takes that back into perspective.
100%. And even if they were, if it was to exactly be an H in the other one and this one,
it's a variation of the
it's a variation of the percentage of that symbol that is the same
is
far outweighs the part that is different.
Exactly.
And what's to say it's not a regional thing? You know,
Well,
this region of the globe, that's the symbol. In the next region, they add the sides.
Put little sides on it because that's what they do.
Because that's what they do. What's to say it's not the case?
And this is why I say it echoes, because I think there's just different variations of the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's about it for Göbekli Tepe, mate.
Well, look, it's
just a little snapshot.
And it's shed some more information on Göbekli Tepe than what I've been presented with before.
Yeah, and that's the aim. That's the aim, because you could spend a 3-day conference on Göbekli Tepe if you wanted to, right? So part of these Megalithamania presentations that I'm putting together is it's more about asking questions and just showing a different range of information.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I probably should understand what pillar that is too. Should have a pillar name, shouldn't I? Pillar numbers at least.
That's all right.
It's okay. We're learning. So from here, we go to Belbeck.
Yep.
But what I want you to notice is where Syria is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that means Göbekli Tepe is just up to the top right there.
Top right. Yep.
right? So it's not that far away. But what's that's outside Lebanon, mate. Belbeck. The ancient city of Belbeck is one of the greatest archaeological mysteries of all time. Located east of the Litani River in Lebanon, Belbeck is known for its monumentally scaled Roman temple ruins. These Roman temples were built on top of an even more ancient 5 million square foot platform that was made from some of the largest stones ever used in any construction project ever used. The largest stone found weighs 1,200 tons, actually 1,600, and is about 64 feet long. I'll give a plug to Mysteries Unresolved, or Runsolved, because they've got some pretty cool stuff.
Yep.
I do use that stuff. It's mysteriesrunsolved.com. But I thought 5 million square feet, 46.5 hectares.
Yep.
115 acres, or 464,515 square meters. Like,
That's a large site.
just wrap your laughing gear around those numbers just for a little second there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I wanted to give you a different perspective of Belbeck too, because that's a different perspective. We don't often see what's left of the temple from that angle.
Yeah.
Right. It's always, because when we're looking it up, we're looking up the megalithic stones, aren't we? Right.
Exactly.
There's a bit of an overview of the site. It's not a total overview. You can see it actually extends up the top there a bit further.
So is that the temple down the bottom?
The temple's down the bottom there, and then you've got, it's all a temple, right?
Yeah.
And Bacchus, so it's the temple of Bacchus or Dionysus.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's the god of wine.
Of course. We love wine.
Yeah, wine and wine. I can't remember. I was trying to remember this. Wine and revelment or something like that.
Festivities.
Yeah, something like that. But if you're going to build a temple to any god, there's probably the one to build it to. You know what I'm saying?
Straight up.
But that
The
is
god of good times.
the god of good times. This one was cool because this is actually one of the earliest photos of the entrance of the temple to Belbeck, taken around 1900. And just look at the entranceway, man.
That's awesome.
You know, like,
Makes you think of giants.
it does make you think of giants because all the doors are big. Like through Egypt, they're all big. However, more about just having a look at the masonry as well, the size of the stones. Okay, that's something we're going to look at in a minute. But I just thought that was a really, really cool perspective that I hadn't seen before. And I only had like a thumbnail picture of it. I had to go and dig to find a higher quality resolution so we could see it in this format. There's another one we don't see. But I wanted to show here just the Roman artistry.
And look at the lion's face.
Yep.
Does it look symmetrical to you?
Looks very symmetrical.
You sure?
Oh, no, to the left it's not.
It looks
definitely
like
not.
the nose skews one way.
It does actually. No, you're right.
Which
You're
if that's Roman,
yeah.
the Egyptian stuff
is 10 times better.
Way better than that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go to Egypt. You wait till we get there. But it just wanted to see that because the Romans, in their own right, were very talented.
Oh, 100%.
Like, we can't actually, when we say, the Romans didn't put the big blocks there, I don't think they did at all. Did they build an amazing stone temple on top of it? Yes, they did. There's the evidence right there, right? Yeah. No doubt about that. The Romans do need their due, okay? There's roads in Europe that are still functioning better than any road that we build here. Yeah. That the Romans built 3,000 years ago.
Yeah. No, look, they were very good at what they did. But were they as good as the ones that came before?
Not at all.
No. And they just didn't do it on the scale that those who came before.
Now, see, where we got here, this is a different perspective, and this is going to play trickery with you, okay? Because those blocks underneath, so you got the two walls there. You got the big blocks underneath, and then you got the small blocks, the Roman stuff on top.
Yep.
When I first looked, I'm like, they're not that big. And then I saw that.
Then you put a dude in there. Yep.
Right? That is not the big, massive 9 stones the big massive ones that make the platform. That is an entirely different set of stones, judging by those two blokes there, that are 3 meters by 10 meters?
Yeah.
Easy?
Yeah.
Right? Not small stones at all.
No.
At all. And there's numerous. There's like, if we go back to this one, how many's there? There's 6, 7, around the corner. Like, they're not, you're talking hundreds of, probably, a couple of 100 ton in each of those.
Yeah. Yep.
You would think,
Yeah.
right? But they don't look that big until you do that.
Until you put them in perspective. Yeah. Which makes you appreciate the newer Roman stuff as well.
Absolutely.
Like you were saying before. You look at the Roman stuff up the back there, and it's like, they were no slouches themselves.
No, it's not bad work at all.
100%.
Like, they were trying to emulate. Well,
That's
I
it.
think they knew as well that stone was what it was. Stone lasts the longest.
Yeah. That's right. But they were coming from a perspective where they had a lot of time and a lot of resources to perfect an art, but they were never able to logistically get to the point where they could do it with the bigger stones. They could do it with that because they could use human thuggery to move that around.
And to pretend they didn't have basic pulleys and wheels and stuff because of the chariots. All that sort of
exactly.
stuff. They had basic lifting technology, which allowed them to lift the larger ones of these stones, cranes and the such.
Yeah.
However, I still struggle to see them lifting those big ones there.
Yeah. Or dragging those big ones, or pushing, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. And I just...
Moving.
So, we always focus on the big massive ones, but I just wanted to look at the temple itself.
You just come back to the medium-sized ones, and them alone will blow your mind.
Why do we need to worry about the stone of the pregnant woman when we got a half a dozen stones there that are ginormous?
Yeah, exactly.
But there we go. Here is... What I wanted to see here is I'm looking past the big ones on the top.
Yep.
And what I'm looking at is the work that it would take to shape that angle, and then how interlocked are these ones underneath. So if you think about that bottom 3 rows, it looks to me it's an interesting, and it's hard to know without being on the site, but the very bottom row looks to be bigger stones, and then there's 2 smaller stones.
Yep.
And then you got the massive one. Then you got big ones, and then you got the massive ones on top. Made me wonder, how long are the stones in those 2 rows that we can see?
The ones that look small. Yeah. Are they long, rectangular, like pillars laid on their side? Yeah.
Which you would think of from an engineering perspective, if you're going to put massively heavier stones on top, they would almost have to be. You couldn't have...
Small
the inconsistency of the sections would not give you the strength that you needed. So if that's the case, they're laying pillars who knows how long.
Yeah.
Or they could be. And just the engineering...
Well, the rocks above tell me that there's no reason they can't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. If you look at the massive, the sort of medium-sized, small, medium to large, and just fucking massive stones that are above it, they're making long pillars because if you're putting X amount of tons on top of each other, you need that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the only other thing I'm thinking of in terms of, like, if you're thinking of putting matchsticks on their side and then placing those big blocks on top, would you risk snapping them if there was... Well, the thing is, though, we're talking about inconsistencies.
Yeah.
They're pretty precise. There's not a lot of inconsistency.
You can't put a piece of paper in between these stones.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like there's not a lot of inconsistency. So you wouldn't need to worry about snapping those long pillar-type blocks that are laid on their side, if that's what they are. That's an interesting point that you raise. Like, are they small? And what I gather from looking just at that is that if you're correct in saying it's large stones on the bottom, then there's 2 rows of smaller stones and then larger stones put on top. That's like a shoring layer a settling layer.
Yeah, that's right.
Sort of thing, like a cushioning.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
It could also be like earthquake mitigation as well.
And that's what I'm thinking it could possibly be there for. Yeah, which if you're engineering things to that degree, you're probably mitigating for earthquakes.
And to me, the thing that I didn't really pay much attention to till now is that step out.
Yeah.
Right, that in itself is impressive as well, because
Yeah.
it looks like it's consistent across the entire stone. If you look at that one there, that it's the same angle across the entire stone.
Yep.
So that was done not at the same time, or it was done to an exact. Every stone was made at the same time, basically.
Yeah.
To the same angle.
That's right. And not only that, but to the same measurement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just interesting stuff. It's these smaller details. Now that we don't get overawed by the big details, coming back and looking at the smaller details.
Is that a dude? Go back. That one.
Yeah, that's a dude. Yeah.
So that puts it in perspective.
That puts it in perspective. Yeah.
So there's a dude in the bottom left-hand corner.
So yeah, we're still talking the smaller stones there are 2
still
meters, 1.8, 1.5, 1.5 to 2.
Yeah. You know, if he's somewhere like 5'5" to 6 foot somewhere, he's still the height of one of those runs.
Yeah.
So they're not small
They're
stones.
not small stones. They just look small against the 1,000-ton stones.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a fascinating thing. And this one, it goes around the corner, man.
Yep.
Even that corner piece in the bottom, the guy's leaning up against it. Mm-hmm. That's a corner piece that slots in the corner on both top and bottom.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Right, so the level of masonry that takes.
Yeah, it's massive.
Right, so that then gives you an idea of how big that stone is, that corner piece.
Yep.
Because you've got 3 edges there.
Mm-hmm.
So you can then make a 4th edge.
Yep.
However, still, man, they're massive.
That perspective blows my mind, dude.
You know,
Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. But this is the one.
Here we go.
Near the 2,000-year-old Temple of Jupiter in Belbeck, Lebanon, sits the largest known megalithic block, discovered in 2014. That was an interesting thing that I knew but I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
64 foot by 19.6 foot by 18 foot. This stone weighs 1,650 tons.
And that's a pregnant woman.
That's the
Isn't
stone.
it?
Pregnant. Yeah. Yep.
And does it have a flaw in it? Does it have a crack or something?
No, not that one. They just didn't move that one.
They just didn't move it.
This is another one of those ones where it's like they were halfway through, because we're going to have a look at a couple more. They were halfway through cutting blocks and they just left.
Yeah. Now that there could be one of those matchstick blocks that you're talking about.
Could be.
You know, it's 19.6 feet by 18 feet.
So 20
by
foot,
64 feet.
So that's 6 meters by 19 meters by 5 meters. 6 meters. Yeah, 5 and a bit meters. So yeah, 6 meters by 5 and a bit by 18.
Yeah.
19.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so that square bit on the end, it's larger than those ones we were looking at before, but in a similar fashion, that could possibly be what that was.
They could have been lining that up to cut it up, maybe. Something like that. Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's interesting. There's a different version of it.
Yep.
But this is what I wanted to look at there, because there's actually 3 stones.
Yeah.
That's that one there, but then they dug around it, and there's 3 stones. That one's been cut as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose, it's a question we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. However, how the fuck did they cut it?
Yeah.
How have they prepared at least 2 stones there?
Yep.
And it kind of looks like they started to move that one, because it's on a bit of the angle of the dangle's a bit off, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Compared to the cut or the trench that's in the ground there.
Yeah. That looks a fairly straight cut or trench or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
The other stone, it's
stone
skew-if, right?
is on a it's on an angle, definitely.
So I don't know, they either cut it in place or they started to move it, which is interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I am seeing a lot of stuff, and I'm not too sure. Some of it's very interesting. That's all cast concrete type stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Been seeing a lot of that recently. I don't discount all of it.
Look, the thing that makes me interested in that kind of thing is the way in which concrete's made up, right?
Yeah.
If you think about our common use of concrete these days, we use an aggregate with a cement powder that is made up of ash and lime and stuff like that. Okay. So, so if you think about like granite or feldspar or something like that, it's also got a structure.
Yes.
It's not one rock. It's a complex. It's made up of crystalline sections and stuff like that. It's just purely the makeup of granite that allows me to think because it's a volcanic rock. You know, it's just cured magma.
Yeah, granite's very interesting. Granite, as we're going to talk about, and as Muhammad sort of alluded to, granite can carry energy. It's a conductor.
Yeah, because it's full of crystals.
It's full of crystals.
It's full of quartz. Yeah.
You know, and I don't think I didn't check the type of stone that is at Belbeck, so there's another little dot point that I can make sure I put into the mix next time.
Yeah.
So that's about it for Belbeck, mate. I just wanted to have it was more, the Belbeck stuff was less about the big stones and more about just getting a different perspective on the wall itself and on the temple itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, when you hyper focus, you know, what have we talked about so many times in here? You got to be in an observant state. So that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to back off the crazy stuff.
Well, sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees.
The forest for the trees, exactly. Yeah.
You know, you need to back a little bit and have a look around. I agree. I see what you're doing.
Because through that, I think if you're trying to build the jigsaw puzzle, you need to look at all the pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, instead of hyper focusing on different areas.
I'm hearing you.
So yeah, that's it, mate. So from there, we go back to another old friend, Egypt.
Hello, friend.
One thing that Muhammad helped me understand is the distance between Luxor and Cairo is actually quite a distance. Okay, Luxor's down the bottom, Cairo's at the top.
I see. Yep.
I didn't understand that that's how far away that was. Right, it's actually quite a ways down the Nile.
Yep.
Okay. Obviously, you know, Thebes, Luxor, Giza, Cairo, Saqqara. There's two main areas. But what Muhammad was saying is that, you know, if something happens in Luxor, it may be, you know, a day, half a day, 2 days before he actually finds out what's going on.
Because he's in Cairo,
He's
isn't
in
he?
Cairo, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Muhammad sits where he sits, he looks left or right. I think it's left, and basically sees the Great Pyramids.
Across the pyramids.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And he sent us Great Pyramid energy. So,
yep.
And much love to him for that. And what a cool guy.
Oh, you know, very cool guy.
You know, he's about to start a tour. However, when that tour was done, we got a couple of dates booked. And looking at the Egypt stuff, a lot of it has been, it's some of the old stuff that I wanted to just touch on that we haven't talked about in a little while. However, there's also some questions that obviously our association with Muhammad has raised, and we have an expert on the ground with, you know, 20 plus years experience to be able to actually communicate that to us. So I thought, you know, I love that perspective.
Yep.
Because the second one that looks tall that's not the Great Pyramid.
No.
From that perspective, the second pyramid looks huge.
Yeah. It's actually the one in the background.
It's the one in the background, yeah. Yeah. That's a cool perspective that I hadn't quite seen before.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I do definitely want to talk to Muhammad about is what's in the other two pyramids.
Yeah.
We don't hear about that.
No.
What's in the other two pyramids? What is in that? You can see the entrances there.
Yep.
What's in the other two? That's one of the questions I want to ask him. With the casing stones, that was an interesting one as well that I wanted to touch on. So the casing stones that they've found, just so so everybody understands, and Muhammad goes into great detail in I think it's Egypt too. However, not only were they interlocking, but they were built on an angle, so each one locks into each other. But some of these cornerstones they've found are 4 meters. So it's not like, when we spoke about it originally, we thought, they just would have been stones to match the thing and give it a nice shiny surface.
Yeah.
No. And the other thing is too, is some of them were half limestone, half granite. They weren't all the same material.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
And different types of granite as well.
Yep.
And the fact that Muhammad said, no, there's actually a lot of churches and mosques and bits and pieces in Cairo that the casing stones were used to build. So you know how we assumed there wasn't much there?
Yes.
He goes, no, that's not true. There's a lot here that you can point to. This is where the...
Right, okay. Yeah. Because the stone's the same between the different buildings, and that's what... Yeah. I get you.
Yeah, so... But... Because I said, it was the story's an earthquake. He's like, yeah, that is the story. However, if you think about each stone... You're building the pyramid, right? And as you go up, each stone actually goes down on an angle and interlocks into the next one. So that means the higher you go, the more downward pressure is created, the stronger it gets. An earthquake's not going to fucking shake that loose. That's what he was basically saying. He's like, I'm not sure. He goes, it was more than an earthquake that shook those casing stones loose, because the amount of what would have to happen in order to shake one of them, because the one on the bottom, so that the story is one down low got shook out, and that was like the keystone. Everything else got pulled out. Yeah. But he's saying the downward pressure on the ones on the bottom row
from all the ones
stacked on top. Yeah. And he goes, then you look at the second pyramid, it's like, well, why is only the top left? Like, that's a hell of a shake.
Yep.
It's again, these stories that we just accept as gospel, they don't make a lot of sense when you talk to someone on the ground who's looked at it all the time from that perspective.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking using that information, I'm thinking multiple faults, fractures in the stone itself. So instead of shaking a whole stone loose,
it's like a multiple, just like a heap cracked and a couple fell off.
The fault lines, and that creates then a weakness where you can come in and work and chip away at it, sort of thing.
Yeah,
just gives you a line to work on, and it may have been halfway up. What's to say that fault line was at the bottom? But
it's also what I think basically what he was saying is what kind of event to shake that kind of interlock stone loose.
Definitely.
What happened?
Yeah, 100%.
And then basically he didn't say it, but loosely said, like, we only know of a couple of different major cataclysms that might have caused that. Was it water? There's that as well. There's these that it was all full of water at some point.
Yeah.
So
no, like you say, as we all know, that pyramidal structure is quite possibly it is the strongest geometric shape.
Absolutely, yeah.
To withstand all of these destructive forces.
Yeah.
So, like you say, everything is engineered for it to stand the test of time. and something big enough happened that it was able to crack the outside veneer. Yeah. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Something defeated the external layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I approached Muhammad about one of our UTC theories.
Yes.
How we said that with the casing stones in place, that the 8-sided nature of the Great Pyramid would then be more pronounced, and it would send energy. It would reflect energy.
Yeah. Could it be like concave?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And focus.
And just between you and me, because we came up with that theory in this room a couple of years ago now, he agreed with us. So that was pretty cool.
Yep.
He's
there
like,
you go.
That's actually a very good perspective. He was impressed that we had that perspective. However, I said to him, then where's the top? Where's the top of the pyramid?
Yeah.
Right?
What was Muhammad's answer to that?
He doesn't think there was one.
Ah.
Because in multiple temples, right, so say there's a pyramid shape behind a god or something, it never goes to the point. It always clips off the top.
Oh, really?
Right?
Yeah.
And the top of the pyramid, what's that bloody called? It slipped my mind. The
pyramidion.
The pyramidion, the top stone.
Yeah.
There's only one story that said there was a top stone.
Yeah. What if it was interchangeable? You know what I mean?
Well, he seems to think that in order to, like, if you think about a receiver and a sender, a point is too focal, right?
Yep.
So the top of each pyramid, it's flat on the top because it's a sender and a receiver. So it actually gives it a platform to send and receive energy. That was his description.
That was his idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all about it. You know, like you said, it's all standing on pillars of sand in terms of theories. So all it takes is some evidence to lean things in one way, in one direction or the next. So yeah, it's all about. Look, I'm all about it.
It's interesting. You know, and look, you know, this is a guy that's looked at this stuff every day. So I'll take I'll take him over us any day.
100%.
And I just thought just because of the scale, just wanted to have a look at the scale, just quickly.
It's an impressive shot.
It's so impressive. So impressive. This is one of the first maps that was made of the inside the Great Pyramid. However, this one, that's one we've all seen. But this is something we haven't heard about in a little while.
The voids.
The voids.
Yes.
Right, that was a few years ago now that the voids were discovered.
Has anything more come out about the voids?
No.
No.
Not yet.
They're not letting any more stuff be done.
No, they're not letting us know. Or I think, you know, it's Mr. Hawass again, restricting some of the knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he went into the Sphinx chambers without a camera. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
He was first in there without a camera.
Yep.
So he saw what was in there before a camera saw what was in there.
Yep.
So if there was anything in there, it's now not there. Like that. Anyway. But
Yeah.
it's just wanted to bring the voids back up again. Just wanted to put them back into the lexicon.
Yeah.
You know, get the listeners to search the searches for the voids.
Well, not only the voids, but the stacked stones on top of the king's chamber.
Which give off energy.
I think they're something along the lines of 70 tons each.
Yep. Well, the grand gallery, they're all lintels. There's like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're all massive stacked stones on top of each other, on top of the king's chamber, as well. Those lintels.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that back into the lexicon because we haven't heard any more about it. There's nothing more to be said about it. However, don't forget that there was a small void and a massive void found.
And let's just think for a second. Do we honestly believe those voids are there by mistake?
Nothing is there by mistake.
Nothing in that whole thing is there by mistake. So it's like, yeah, they are there for a reason. We need to know what they are.
One question I have for Muhammad,
Yep.
and it's a question we posed way back in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Why haven't we removed all the stones around the big door?
Yeah.
Like, in fact, remember we found back in the day there was evidence of them restacking stuff in front of it.
Yeah, because wasn't there a image of it being more exposed?
Yes, and then now it's not.
Yeah.
Because if there was a big giant door into the pyramid, I'd say that's where it is.
Isn't
So-
that where you want to go in from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why haven't we taken all the stones away from there?
Here's a question. When the pyramid was originally constructed,
Yeah.
was that door once an open doorway,
Yeah,
an entrance?
Absolutely.
And
I would say so, yeah.
And then, just like Göbekli Tepe,
Yeah, we're in
it's been covered up to
Yes.
preserve.
That's
Because
exactly
they're like,
where I was going to go.
we're going away from
We're going
this
away for
now.
a while.
We've got to protect this.
Yeah, so we're going to stack it up so no one can
Stack it
get
up,
in.
seal it up with these slotted stones that are all stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
You know, that only you know how to pull them apart.
Yeah. And that's the exact question that I had. And
Yeah.
so that I don't have an answer to that, but that is one of the questions I'm going to pose to Muhammad as to why we haven't removed all the stones around the big giant door.
Yep.
And, what's the story behind that?
Yeah, definitely.
And there it is. The king's sarcophagus,
Apparently.
apparently. And now, reason that one's up there
Mm-hmm.
is because completely separate, obviously one of the other UTC theories that I came up with was that the Ark of the Covenant fits inside the King's Chamber. There's a guy that I'm following on Facebook. He had something about it on his page. He's written like 5 or 6 books. He's one of the guys that I'm in negotiations with.
Okay.
So he might come on the podcast. He's down the Gold Coast. So
Yeah.
hopefully he can come on and give his version. But
Nice.
he had the Holy Grail.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, the Ark of the Covenant
Yeah.
and the King's Chamber basically crisscrossed over each other in one of his graphics. And I'm like, we need to talk.
Yes. Let's talk more about that theory.
And just that picture alone. And I don't know, this one on the left there, does that stone curve under? Or is it a trickery of the light?
Where are you talking about?
Left-hand side there.
Left-hand side. I'm looking.
Basically the first one that you see on the wall that meets the ground underneath the light. It looks to me like it is
there's-
one piece, but it might not be.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell it. Yeah, that line, that seam where the wall meets the floor,
Yeah.
is it's a bit fuzzy, and the reason I think it
Could be trickery of the light.
it
and
looks
dust.
like it does fold in is because the seams on the floor are so defined, and the seams on the wall, and yet then the seam between the wall and the floor isn't as defined.
No.
Yeah.
It could be trickery. But I just wanted you to cast your eye to the roof of the King's Chamber
Yeah.
and look at those giant
Well,
bloody
that's
stones.
those 70-ton suckers
Yeah.
that are stacked, and then there's layers on top of that
Yeah.
roof
Yeah.
of more of the same stacked up there.
Yeah. And and needs to be understood that that's all rose granite,
Yeah.
which is one of the hardest granites there is.
Out of Aswan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Muhammad, because he's the man,
Yeah.
actually made his floor in his home is rose granite from Aswan.
Of course it is.
And what he was telling me, he's like,
Fucking baller.
yeah, he's such a cool guy. However, he was telling me that, here comes the rain, he was telling me that to put, see how big those stones are on the floor there? He couldn't have that size stone
Yep.
in, I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, he was saying.
Yeah.
They couldn't
They couldn't cut them that large because it would
break.
break. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's just unequivocal evidence that we can't actually replicate that today because he tried.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Well, I dare say what the Egyptians or the original builders
The builder culture,
have
yeah.
done is there's a ratio.
Mm.
So if you want to go that large in a floor
You need to be
tile,
that thick.
you got to go that thick.
Yeah.
So how thick they are, I'm sure we know, but I don't know.
No, I don't know right off the top of my head. either.
And in our modern world, we're trying to cut those tiles fairly thin.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're cutting them like 20 mil
Yeah.
sort of thing. So, yeah, to be able to cut it that thin and have it that large, we can't do it. And we've got to do it that way because we can't transport it. No, we can't carry them into a house.
That's what he said. He's basically, well, they couldn't actually get it. I think he's on the second floor or third floor of his building. He's like, they couldn't cut it and transport it because it wouldn't last on the back of a truck.
Mm.
And then the second problem was, how do I actually get it into the house?
And how's the house built?
Yeah.
Can it support
massive?
if you're starting to go thicker?
Yeah. How much weight can you put on the floor, right?
Exactly.
But I just thought we'd bring the King's Chamber back into play because of the Ark of the Covenant, and I am going to get in touch with that guy and continue negotiations so he can come and give his side as well.
Delve away, my friend. Delve.
But this is where I wanted to take you, because this is what has been blowing my mind. And I had heard of the Unfinished Obelisk. I knew it was huge, all these things. However, I didn't quite understand that it is pretty much unequivocal evidence of advanced technology. So it's 42 meters long, or 138 feet, and comes in at 1,168 tons.
Yeah. So how are you moving that?
How are you moving?
How are you guys moving that, you bastards?
And me and it was actually, Muhammad's such a cool guy, so appreciative that he takes the time to come on here and talk to us.
Yeah.
However, there's only one picture, one hieroglyph of obelisks in a boat.
Yep.
And supposedly it's two of them, and they're either 300 ton or 700 ton.
Yep.
And there's two of them in a boat. Right? And basically he goes, they in the thing, they said, they just got some wood and they just
they just rolled them in
just basically
with some sticks and stuff and jimmied them
along and then just put them on a boat and floated them down the river. 1,400 tons.
That's how you do it. Yeah. It's easy.
Easy.
It's easy when you just think of it like that.
Exactly, right? But I don't want to get into logistics because there's some really cool stuff to look at, because it's unequivocal, to me, unequivocal evidence of advanced technology being used, because this one's not finished, right?
Yeah.
So there's a better picture. Can you spot anything there that you might want to think about?
What?
So,
what are we talking about? The crack down through the middle of it?
Well, this is one of the reasons they say they didn't lift it is because it was imperfect. And that's because they had a crack.
Yep.
Right? And that straight line is evidence of them trying to fix it or something.
Okay.
But I want you to have look at those marks there. Those scoop marks.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep. Yeah, they're very scoopy.
No chisel is going to make that mark.
No, that's quite a large chisel if that's making that mark.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I was thinking about is the way in which they've just cut trenches down into the bedrock, so the bedrock's still up around this pillar.
Well, that was the other thing Muhammad was saying, is like, how did they get it out?
That's what I was alluding to. The fact that, okay, you cut down, and you never find that fracture, and it's a perfect piece of granite with no hairline cracks in it or anything like that. Are you now going to just lift that vertically up out of that hole, or are you going to, once you've cut it, now take the time to remove all of this bedrock next to it,
so you can lift it,
so as you can roll it out?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because to me, you're rolling it left.
How do you roll 1,200 tons of stone?
Hey, that's a detail for someone else, man. I'm one step at a time, bro. Like, are you winching that to stand it on its end?
That's an interesting question.
Like, stand it up? Tell me, builders, what's the next step?
So the question then is, how do they cut underneath it? And Muhammad tried to explain it into detail.
Yes.
And it made me very, very, very curious.
Yes.
So I went looking. So there's just a couple more pictures of those scoop marks.
Mm-hmm.
There's the scoop marks
very,
at the point.
Very imperfect tip on that obelisk.
It feels like, and I'm trying to, it's like a, people have said like ice cream scoop.
Yeah.
Like it's
yeah, definitely.
It's interesting.
It almost looks like, imagine if that rock was sand. Those scoop marks, you could imagine them being, if that rock was softer.
Softer, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yep. Now, I'm pretty sure they say this is the dolmens. I think this is the balls. So they bang the balls and it eventually does something, magical, whatever. But obviously I'm not
magical balls.
But there's a look at that.
Yep.
You can almost see that they're doing test pieces, or like they got down to the point. Look at the edge there. It's like they're carving it. You know what I mean? It's like it's almost what it sort of looks like to me. I've seen it. A good dozer operator will get the bucket and he'll go down the wall. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That's the
excavator operator.
Excavator. Sorry, yeah.
When you're like cutting, like a battering and benching.
Yeah.
Like on a.
That's what it looks like, but they're doing it in.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think of the sonic drilling that I saw a podcast on the other day. Yeah. It makes you think of that in a larger scale sort of thing.
Well, that was
like if you look at all of the scoop marks, they're a very consistent size. Mm-hmm. So if you had it's a tool, had a thing that you place, and then you pick it up and you move it, and you pick it up and move it, and it's just very rhythmic. But
the trippier photos are to come.
Yeah.
Because I said to Muhammad, how do they cut the inside?
Yep.
He said they scoop underneath it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I need to see pictures of this.
Yep.
Look at that. That, again, lends to what you're saying. It's like a sonic tool. It's like they've gone...
Yep.
Like that's the only... There's no magical chisel in the world that is going to do that.
Well, and the chisel is the wrong size for something that's handheld.
Yeah, and how? I mean, it's hard to sort of get a how wide they are. Like, there's no person sort of standing.
No, there's no person. But if you reference it just off the pure size of the stone, they're large. And if you think about, like, if you're chiseling with a hammer and chisel, well, you have to be able to hold those instruments in your hands
and swing them.
Yeah. So you're not going to have a tool that makes a mark that large. Inside each one of those scoop marks, there's going to be the smaller marks of the actual chisel tool.
And it's one motion. If you look at that picture there, it's one motion, how they've gone down and
it's a straight line straight down the side of the pillar.
They've dug it out, right? But that is the interesting one there. They obviously I'm pretty sure that's the point.
That's the point by the looks of it, yeah.
Right? So they've actually started to refine the point.
Yep.
So now they're using the tool to go like that.
Yeah. Now they're going in underneath.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, how can you explain that? It's very, very, very... It's some sort of thing that changes the matter of the stone and makes it be able to dig through granite like butter.
Yep.
That's the only way. Like, look at that. And again, that's rose granite. You can see that there. So again, that's rose granite. That's one of the hardest stones on the planet.
Yep.
It's up there.
And the way in which the shape, like we said about a scooping shape to those, because all of this has been buried, so it's not, as I'm getting at the fact that the edges aren't as angular as fractured stone would be.
Definitely not.
It's smoothed.
It's smooth.
It's round.
The
edges are
scooped.
rounded off,
Yeah.
which lends me to move towards some kind of flow, either from air,
sonic,
or
air, sound, vibration, something like that.
If you think about sand blasting, right? Sand blasting will smooth over edges. Water will do the same thing, smooths over edges. Vibration, because the actual cutting is like imperfect, so you don't get those sharp edges, which is like there. All of the edges have rounded over.
Yeah. It's
like you said, it's very interesting. It
twists your mind, doesn't it? It
does.
twists your mind.
Most definitely.
You know, and I don't, again, I don't know. But to me, like, there's no tool that we have now that could do that.
No.
To rose granite.
No. Or maybe we do, but it's just in the hands of jewelers.
Yeah.
On a very small scale.
Yeah, on a very small scale, like that sonic drilling. Right? That was a Serpent Brothers episode, so have a look at that one. But look, I just wanted to touch on a few little things in Egypt. And more to the point, there's plenty of avenues of discussion. Obviously, exploring the connection with Australia is in the top of the list there. However, there's so many other questions that need to be asked. And we're privileged to have a bloke like Muhammad give us a perspective.
Dude, that was a leg up and a half. You know, Muhammad's just amazing.
To finish, mate, we come home to a land down under. And as you know, the discoveries that have happened over the last couple of years here through the podcast and through some of our associates of the podcast are a bit mind-blowing. And they're beginning to put together a larger picture. But what I'd like to do tonight is I'd like to share in detail what we found up at Gympie.
Yep.
Which it wasn't a lot. However, probably the best piece is this here, which I dubbed the preparation stone. Why I called it the preparation stone is that there's supposedly a mix of plants, and the prickly pear, which is all over the Gympie Pyramid, is one of the plants, and there's another two. You mix them together, and it creates an acid that melts stone.
Right.
Okay. And the reason I called this one the preparation stone is it looks like that's what they've done here. Okay. You can see there that they have prepared something on the end of this stone.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually see where it's worn away in rings.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yep.
Okay. And then you can see the top right there. They've sharpened something. There's two pull marks there. There's one horizontally and there's one vertically.
Yep.
Looks like they've sharpened a tool, or they've done something. They've sharpened something, or they've dragged something through a groove there.
Yep.
And then in the corner, they've had a test cut. And
Yep.
you can see it's a test cut because it goes longer than it goes wider.
Yep.
Right? You can see how it's cut out there.
Mm-hmm.
That to me was unequivocal evidence of that type of cutting, or that type of method, which is well known. It's an interesting concept. I don't know what there's the prickly pear, and then there's two others, and I don't know what they are, because if I did know,
Would be cutting stone.
We'd be cutting stone in the backyard. However, that to me was one of the more interesting finds that we found up in Gympie, and does lend to the fact that potentially they were cutting stone on the site there.
Yep.
Okay. That was another interesting piece there. It's basically just a cutout, and that's a bit more, I dug it out.
Looks quite symmetrical.
It's quite symmetrical, and it looks like it has been cut.
Yep.
Okay, again, the vertical line goes deeper than the horizontal line does, so like they've brought it down, and then almost like a saw cut, for want of a better description.
Yep.
However, again, that to me was evidence of cutting. This one too. I mean, this one it is very regular shaped.
Well, when you look at that, that straight away it takes me over to the to the church
Yeah.
in Gympie.
Exactly,
The
yeah.
wall that's stacked over there. You know, the way in which the edges are all cut very precisely.
Yeah.
Except the polygonal masonry over there, it would be more intricate. Like, what would have been amazing was if that stone had multiple edges on it.
Yeah.
You know, like a T-stone, or if it had a right angle in it, or something like that.
I think, again, in a lot of these sites, we find the stuff that's unfinished.
Yeah.
Because if it was finished, it'd be in the wall.
It's in the wall. It's used. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to debunk something with you.
Yep.
Now, this is the photo that is bandied about over and over and over again, that is the top of the Gympie Pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
Look in the background. There is no mountain range behind the summit of the Gympie Pyramid. It's not the Gympie Pyramid.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, it's very hard to work out what any of that is in the background there.
It's trees. This is an old photo, right? Apparently this is a photo from the late 1800s.
Okay.
But that is trees in the background.
Yep.
Okay? That is a range in the background.
Yep.
We've both stood at the summit of the Gympie Pyramid. You do not see a range of trees.
No, not like that off in the distance.
No, you don't at all.
No.
So I'm saying, and this is pretty exclusive, that the photo that is supposedly the summit of the Gympie Pyramid is not. Because there is no... That's trees in the background. There is no... You stand at the top of that hill, there is no trees.
Yep.
So that photo's not right.
Okay. So yeah, that's very possibly some other location.
It's some other location. I don't know where it is. However, it's not Gympie.
Yep. Yep.
That's a cool photo. That's an old aerial photo.
Yeah.
And that's probably how you can see that it looks like a pyramid.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like there's no houses or anything there.
Yeah, and it's standing out by itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
So looking at that, looks a lot more like a pyramid with that old aerial shot. Okay. Now there is trees in the background there, but they don't go up like that.
No.
See that ridge along the back there?
Yeah.
That's not that.
No.
So yeah, I'm saying that the summit photo is not actually the summit photo.
Yep.
There it is there. Now, the reason I put this one in is that we've seen that wall stacking already tonight, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
That stone stacking.
Yeah.
Saw another echo of it in the Bosnian pyramid as well.
Yep.
So, obviously that's a fairly well-known, easy way to stack stone. However, the walls look very similar at Göbekli Tepe. They look very similar at the Bosnian pyramid, and they look very similar here.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's the money shot.
That's
Actually,
the one.
That's the money shot.
That's the money. Right there. Yep.
Now, where obviously we talked at length about South American influences. However, at the same time, I'm seeing some very interesting stuff out of Easter Island. Now, because Easter Island is Easter Island, it deserves its own section.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to divert to Easter Island from here.
Yeah.
But in one of the next presentations that I'll do, we'll bring up Easter Island. We'll bring Easter Island into play because it's important. However, the masonry and the stuff in Easter Island is more from a size perspective. Mm-hmm. It's very similar. The stones are very similar in size as they are to the site at Gympie.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that site's not megalithic by any standard, but it's precise.
Yes, it's very precise. Yeah. And again, I will mention that photo there, I posted that on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure it's the highest likes I've ever got. And I put, "Where is this?"
Yeah.
And no one believed it was Gympie.
That's right. Well, no one would have even known to think of Gympie.
When I showed Jock Doubleday these pictures, he was flabbergasted.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Because when we see that, we know that there was only one civilization that did that.
Well, Egypt did a little bit, but not to the extent that South America did.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
But the civilization's the global one.
Yeah,
is
the
what I'm
builder
getting at.
culture.
The builder culture.
Yeah.
Is definitely what did that.
Yeah. And look, I just wanted, there was a couple other, because that's the other money shot there, the one that's on the angle that goes around.
Yeah, the bottom on the corner there.
Yeah. The other interesting thing about the other development with this wall is that apparently Colin Hayter went and did, because he's a builder by trade,
Yeah.
he approached the Gympie Council as a builder and wanted to do an investigation into the historical building of Gympie.
Yeah.
And basically was looking for that. And he says, and I haven't seen his evidence yet, however, he says that the wall didn't come from the site, it came from two other sites that weren't the Gympie Pyramid site. Which is interesting because we've had trouble placing that wall at the site.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a development there. I will update everyone once I get more information. But just wanted to show a few of those. I mean, like that one there, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sides. It's supporting, each one of those blocks has got multiple sides and it's got multiple angles. It's very impressive stuff. That one in the middle there is pretty cool. You just don't do that. No one does that.
No.
It's fascinating. But that's about it for Gympie because we've obviously gone at length about that. But that's a few of the things that I found.
Well, that just ties Gympie into the global culture.
It does, yeah.
Is what it does.
Yeah.
It adds. It says, "Hey, we've got some stuff too."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's interesting to look at. It makes you think. What more is there that we don't know of?
And look, I am going to dig into the megalithic walls on Easter Island. And maybe because we've got so many photos of the wall at Gympie, do some comparisons. I did start to do that, and I thought, well, we're going to go too long. It's going to be a bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So that's not for tonight. However, look forward to a bit of analysis on that in the near future.
Beautiful.
I want to go a little bit left of centre now to Australite Tektite. Now, that, as we understand, is not Australite Tektite. However, that is the stones that the Strong Boys have.
Yep.
Okay? Now, why do I say that's Australite Tektite? I say it because of that, because of the one on the left there.
Mm-hmm.
That is the one on the left there.
Yep.
Okay? Now, if we are to entertain, well, we can, NASA documents tell us that there was a great body in low Earth orbit 780,000 years ago that slowly crashed into the planet.
Right.
Okay. And the tektite is all these buttons, right? That's a classic Australite tektite button, right?
Mm-hmm.
One on the top and two different on the bottom there. But if it's a massive body that was in low Earth orbit, it all wouldn't have been tiny pieces.
Right.
Okay. Now, where I go a little bit woo-woo with it is if we're buying into that alternate origin theory where they were beings from another planet that used genetically modified us, etc., they used, an understanding now that they think the best version of, material to build artificial intelligence is actually using silica.
Yep.
Okay. It's the basis of a lot of microchips. It's, the silica, this is what this is. Okay. It's high in silica.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Remember, I had a very trippy experience with those stones when I sat in the stone circle. They spoke to me. It was a very, very trippy experience. Okay?
I remember you telling me the story.
However, maybe they imbued the consciousness into the Australite tektite.
Yeah. Consciousness, information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're storing information on silica now.
Yeah. Yep.
So who's to say that if they came from a star system far, far away, they didn't have that ability at the end to push their energy, information, whatever you want to call it. Data into the stone.
Yeah. I'm hearing you. In some kind of solid state memory.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's only based on the experience that I had because it was very trippy. Like those stones spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't explain it any other way.
Yeah.
And when I was looking at this Australite tektite, and I found there's more pieces like that have that yellowy blue colouring. They're not all this, right? And then I thought, hang on a minute, they're not all going to be tiny pieces. There's going to be some giant pieces of australite tektite.
Surely. You
right?
would think.
You would think.
Yeah.
It's not all going to be tiny pieces, right?
No.
And that's sort of where it led me down to that.
Yep.
And just where that tektite boundary is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's majority of Australia into Japan and into, that's North and South Korea there.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. That's where a lot of it is found. And it's just that story nags at me.
Yeah.
It nags at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I will continue, what tonight is too is probably a good representation of how many different various rabbit holes that I'm down at once. And it's just about...
Well, just the rabbit holes that are out there to be gone down. That's the thing. There's so many people doing the same thing everywhere. And the connectivity of the internet allows us to delve into each one of them simultaneously. And it just that's why the opening of the perspective is what's important.
Yeah, because it could be anything or it could be everything. It's you need to understand and be open.
Yeah,
and the bottom line is with this alternative origin story, is there's more physical evidence for this happening than there is that Jesus was around.
Yep,
that's the reality, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
So. And it just nags at me. It just nags at me. From there, we head to, and obviously kudos to fellow coder and multiple guest, Mr. Patterson, the Lightning Place, or
Standing
Australia
Stones.
Stonehenge.
Yep.
Okay. And this is more about a larger piece of work that I'm doing in the background. We will be conducting a multiple-day field trip in the coming months, probably in the next couple of months. Basically, the rough plan, I'm putting it together logistically, but the rough plan is to go down to Gosford, to the Hawkesbury River. So there's probably 3 or 4 sites there that we need to see, and then we're going to spend a couple of days coming back, basically.
Yep.
Stopping at Kiagra, I think, National Park, and a few other little places along the way. Basically looking for standing stones.
Yep.
Okay. Obviously, there's nothing left at Lightning Place. There's nothing left there now. It was bulldozed.
It's been dozed.
It was
yeah.
dozed pretty well. But what it is it is definitely an important piece of the puzzle, without a shadow of a doubt. But what we can do, it's sort of, and speaking to Richard, it's a bit like the hero's journey, right? Okay, we know this existed, but it would have been part of a pilgrimage.
Yep.
Okay. And that pilgrimage, a lot of that is still actually national park. So there is potential, and apparently talking to a couple of other guys, there is still standing stones in the wild.
Yeah.
Right? Potentially, ladies and gentlemen, we may be doing a podcast in the middle of an ancient stone circle, which would be very cool. So yeah, part of that, I will be packing the gear up for portability, and we will be recording while we're down there.
Yeah.
However, it's a hero's journey. We'd love to have Lightning Place around. The reality is it's not. However, there's many other places around it, right? So there's the other picture of that. It's very cool what Richard does. I take my hat off to him as far as his ability to recreate it and his ability to use computer programs to do that. It's very cool. But when we say standing stones, what standing stones? Well, those standing stones. There's 3 big ones within 5 k's of Mullumbimby.
Yep.
Interestingly, that one looks like it has got some carvings on it. Nothing concrete. Excuse me. Same as the one on the right. If you actually look, there looks like some deliberate carvings into that too. I would like to get a closer look at both of those and just see what we can see.
Yeah.
And is there anything to see, I suppose, is the question as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's some more, right? The bottom right one being the mock henge, the mock Stonehenge.
I was going to say, what the hell is that?
Well, that's a pictorial representation.
Yep.
Actually, I like the top left one as well because you can see 2 stones in the background.
Yeah.
So there is stones in an arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
That roundabout is the roundabout entering Mullumbimby, just for the record.
Yeah, I think I've been around that.
You would have been around there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's actually the representation. We've said it a few times on the podcast, but that's the one where the guy built a Stonehenge on his property, and Richard went to talk to him, asked him why he built a Stonehenge, and he thought it was a good idea. He just said, "Oh, I don't know, I thought it was a really good idea." And then Richard said, "Where'd you get the stones from?" He goes, "Oh no, they were already here."
Yeah, right.
So he's probably built a Stonehenge out of stones that were a
stones
Stonehenge.
for a Stonehenge.
Yeah. So
There
the
you go.
stones wanted to be back in a circle, basically.
Yeah.
There's another couple, and there's another one there. That's a bloke by the name of Robbie. He might meet us down there, and he seems to know where some stones are. We're going to do a bit more conversation with him. He's a sound healing guy. He's going to come on the podcast as well, talk to us about sound healing, because I think that's an untapped thing, and there's a lot. And the sound healing stuff echoes back to Egypt as well. There's a lot of rooms with frequency and stuff.
Yep.
So that's an interesting concept that I want to explore. However, yeah, that one. Look at the size of that pillar.
That's a good sized pillar.
That's a good sized pillar. And that is. See, some of these
going to be
though,
close to 4 meters tall.
Some of these though, there's a.
And how deep does it go into the
Yeah,
earth?
I don't know. There's a place down there. It's like a coffee house and a property and stuff. It might be where the mock Stonehenge is. And this guy's found a heap of stones in his property and stood them up. So that one there may not be in the wild.
Yeah.
Okay, that one may have been deliberately put up.
Yeah.
In the in the recent past.
Yeah.
However, there's tell of stone circles and bunches of stones in the Kyogera National Park.
Yeah.
Which we're going to go and try and find. I like this one because it's an old picture. Okay, it's a very old photo, early 1900s or so. And there's another standing stone. I suppose what I'm trying to highlight here through pictures and through better understanding for everybody is that the reason that I'm probably by my primary investigation at the moment is Australia is because there's something here that we need to discover.
Yeah.
And we need to try and join the dots of. And it could potentially be the missing link, right? If we can prove, in the next part we're going to prove that the Egyptians came here, that means the Egyptians circumnavigated the world. If we can prove that whoever the builder culture was went through Easter Island and then came and went to Gympie, that means there was a global civilization.
Yeah.
A seafaring, circumnavigating civilization. And the other big question with the Australia stuff is why was Australia left off all the maps for such a long time? It was almost like it was deliberately left off the maps. There's another guy that I'm talking to who's got some very interesting theories about that. That's not for tonight. I'm coaxing him to come on and tell us about it. It's to do with gold.
Yep.
Which would make sense. There's a theory that one of his theories is that they used the gold from Australia to build the Egyptian empire. All right, and then we had Collins say that Egypt is a reflection of Bambara. This connection with Egypt is one of the is the linchpin. Okay, this is if we can prove why they were here, or at least present multiple perspectives on why they were here.
Yeah, I was going to say increase the bandwidth. We need to fill out, find more things.
Because everyone goes, oh, but we've known about the fact that there's boomerangs in Egypt for ages. And it's like, really? I've been into megaliths hardcore for the last, however many years, and I've only just stumbled upon it. If everybody knew, it'd be better understood. So we need more points of data to build a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And then we can actually seriously have a look at the who, what, when, where, whys. And just think about the consequences of that, right? The consequences of the Egyptians came here, according to the glyphs, 500 BC or so.
Yeah.
Before we get to the glyphs, though, this is actually the first time anyone's seen this. This is a UTC discovery.
This is what you found.
Yeah. Well, Martin. Technically, and I will give kudos to Martin. Martin walked over and went, oh, what's this? You might like this, Triff. And then I proceeded to freak out.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the imprint. The imprint that is in the Glasshouse Mountains.
Yep.
Now, one of the things I do want to do is go back there, but what I want to do is I want to go up and down both sides of that creek.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I want to walk a K in either direction from that imprint, or a couple,
Yeah.
and
I
just
know what you're
see
saying.
if there's anything else. Like, I've been a little way down. I've probably gone 300-400 meters one way. I haven't been too much the other way because it goes under the road. I haven't been on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
However, the one that's on this side of the road, I have gone down the creek probably 300-400 meters.
Yeah.
And there's some interesting stuff, nothing too amazing. However, I feel it's like my instinct tells me that I need to go back and spread out.
Just go further.
Go further.
Yeah. Definitely. And straight away, what gets me with this is the fact that we're looking at right angles
Precision.
and, exact right angles, and the lack of fracturing or anything like that you could try to say that it was natural.
Yeah. And so obviously I sent a piece of stone away to be analysed.
Yep.
And it's a type of sandstone.
Yep.
This type of sandstone is known to break in straight lines.
Yep.
Okay, which we'll see some of this in a minute.
Which some of you can see some cracks.
Yes.
Through it.
Yeah.
Which are fairly straight.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But these are like melted, rubbed, cut.
It's something. It's
not a
been
fracture.
melted, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
basically what the geologist said is that in order to melt sandstone, you need to be at 2,000 degrees Celsius plus.
Okay.
So that just so we can get that into perspective.
Yeah.
And look, I did a fairly good amateur archaeology dig at that, and you can see, look, that is the, you got the right angle, and then it goes the one to the right there doesn't curve, but it looks like it would have. Right?
Yes.
You can see it started to.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. And maybe once upon a time it did. Right, remembering that water runs over these rocks every time that creek runs up.
Exactly.
Okay, so it has had some sort of wash away over the years.
Yeah.
But this is the other photos that I sent to him, and the geologist said that this looks like it has been cut in some form.
Yeah.
Like that is not that little
The
section
zigzag
there,
on-
the zigzag
yep.
section. That's not natural.
Yep.
Right. So it's an interesting question as to when you look at something like this. Okay, that's not natural. That's not.
Yep.
What's what? It's hard to know.
Yeah.
Now, if we go back to they were maybe using the acid technique that we talked about with the preparation stone before, would you choose a stone that breaks in pretty straight lines? It'd make your work a bit easier if you did.
Yeah. 100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Well, you could use that that known quality to speed up your process.
to your advantage, exactly. Some of the, and look, that's just the perfection of that there.
Yeah.
Like it boggles me still.
Yeah.
And what is the sunglasses? It's we called it the sunglasses basically because Martin said it looked like a pair of 80s sunglasses.
Yeah.
However, like what is that? It is an anomaly.
Yeah, exactly. No.
It's oops art, man.
There's a relief there where the nose piece would be.
Yeah.
Nothing about it feels natural.
Nothing.
No.
It has been it is an imprint into the stone of a tool, of something, and obviously my conclusions to that are, it's like this is a meeting place, okay? So surrounding this imprint there is numerous axe grinding grooves. There's the paste grinding grooves, and we went there when we stirred that snake up. However, there's multiple different versions, and it's a meeting place. It's almost like on a crossroads. It's almost like on a boundary of multiple tribes, right? So it's a meeting place where it was like neutral ground.
Yeah.
You go and have a bath there. You go and sharpen your stones there. You know what I mean? You might do meetings there.
Yeah.
If you're going to leave evidence of something that is out of place, you're going to leave it at a meeting place that's probably been a meeting place since who fucking knows how long? Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years? Like, what are we actually talking about?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Millions.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the interesting thing. And I need to go back there, and I need to go under the bridge and up that way, and I need to go the other way a bit further as well, just for my own peace of mind, so I can see what I can see.
The only other thing I can think of, just while you were talking, about unnatural shapes occurring in the rock,
Yeah.
it takes me back to the information that you were saying about the fact that it's sandstone. Sandstone gets created in a depository manner.
Yeah.
So the material gets deposited there, and then it solidifies over time.
So what if there was a tool sitting
Something
in the
was
sandstone?
sitting in there and has since rusted, decayed.
And that was the other. I think Woody was talking about that. That was his when he looked at it. He's like, what if it was like volcanic or something, and there was a tool in the sludge or whatever, and basically that tool stayed there, and then over time, and that's all we've got left of it.
Yeah, exactly. Is a shape. Yeah.
It's oops art, man. That is an out of place artifact. It makes
100%.
no sense for
No.
it to be there.
You're exactly right.
And there's no studies on this. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like, no one has noticed it seemingly before us that day.
Yeah. Or at least
No one's
hung onto it.
noticed it and gone, hang on a minute, what is that?
That's weird. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it, man. Probably because it is oops art. Because anything they were able to put it to didn't fit the timeline.
Well, this is the thing. I think a lot of people look at this stuff that aren't invested into it and go, what's that? Oh, that's a bit weird.
Well, also it's Australia.
Yeah.
And
Nothing happened here.
nothing happened here.
Yeah.
You know?
Supposedly.
When the white man came 200 years ago, the state of the culture, they were just...
was wiped out.
But what they found was just a very hunter-gatherer civilization. You know, nothing that's... no civilization in terms of housing and built-up areas and cities and stuff like that.
It turns out, though, there was areas. There was
exactly.
communal areas.
That's
there was,
right. But all that sort of stuff's been kept. It's been it was destroyed. The transfer of information was destroyed.
Yeah. Well, apparently, Colin and the Southern United Tribes group are actually trying to bring back this information. One of the things that I need to go back to this site and actually check is that at the Gosford Glyphs, you remember those like circular holes that are all over there?
Yeah.
Right? And they're a bit strange.
Yeah.
And we're basically told that they were used to round stuff off. That's the explanation.
Yeah.
There's very similar holes in the Bosnian Pyramid Complex, and there's very similar holes at Gosford. And what they're actually doing is marking out a star map.
Oh.
So I want to go back to where this is.
Yeah. Take some photos of them.
Take some photos of them and do a bit more field work on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think when you stand there, what above you is open sky because of the big rocky plateau.
That's right.
So maybe it is a bloody star map. Like that's something that it came to me talking to Jock actually after information came through Colin, and I saw the same things at the Bosnian Pyramid Complex. I'm like, hang on a minute, I've seen those before. Here.
That's interesting.
It is very interesting.
And that's something that needs to be looked into.
Yeah,
100%.
further investigation.
Yeah, definitely.
So, again, just a presentation on current information, however, understanding that there's more to come.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Where we're going to finish is here.
Gosford.
The Gosford glyphs. The hieroglyphs that are present at Gosford.
Yep.
Now, I always thought they were genuine. The Strong Boys said they were genuine, and they sort of told a bit of a story about them. However, when I saw that Muhammad knew about them and found out about them, was working on them, that's literally the guy who studied hieroglyphs his entire life.
Yeah.
And reads them every day. Now, that's an entirely different skill set.
Oh, yeah.
And competency level.
Yeah.
Than anything else that has ever been said about these.
Yes. 100%.
Okay. And obviously, that was the cause for me and Muhammad getting together. So listen to Knowledge of Egypt 1 if you haven't already, because we go into this in great detail. I'm going to go through some of the stuff he showed me. I've also got a paper of his that he sent me, but I don't know whether I can distribute it at the moment. It's basically the paper he presented on the podcast. However, it's the entire document. All right, so I haven't spoke to him yet. However, this one here, okay, because if you know about the Gosford glyphs, you know about the one that looks like a UFO taking off, right?
Yep.
It's not a bloody UFO. And you know me, I want it to be a UFO.
Of course.
Okay?
Yep.
But there's two of those, and they're upside down boats.
Yep.
Why? Because the Gosford glyphs, there's part of the story that we do
Tell
know.
the story.
That they tell the story that a fleet of ships, they were heading north, they got hit by a storm coming across the east coast, they tried to turn around and come back, and their ships went upside down.
Yep.
The other one that is to the right of this one, I think,
Mm-hmm.
is actually has a broken mast. Like it has this thing, and it's got like a broken mast, and people have said, "Oh, that's like the exhaust port of the UFO." No, that is the dude going, "Our ships got fucked up. It was upside down. Everything got broken." Right?
Everyone knows UFOs don't have exhaust ports anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Right. However, I just wanted to. It's not a UFO.
Yep.
Okay. The basic story is clear. That basically they were traveling here. Their ships got broken, and that was the last time they were here, and that was 500 BC.
BC. Yep.
Okay. Here's some of the other stuff there, and look, this is just some of the examples of the work. There's a hieroglyph that is a engraver's set, and I'll show you off the mic. I didn't put it up here because it was hard to. I wanted to. At the end of 90 slides, I knew we'd be a couple of hours in, which is where we are now, so I couldn't fit everything in. We're going to come back and go over this stuff as new information comes to light. But what I want you to have a look at is that's pretty bloody. That's not. It doesn't look like they're scratching it. Scratch, does it? It looks like they're dragging it through and pretty much just drawing it into the stone. Now, the hieroglyph for the scribe set looks like a soldering iron or something like that. It looks like an object with the button on and off button. I'll show you later. It's crazy. Yeah. Because that's when I've been looking at these carvings, it looks like they were done in one pass.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what's interesting to me.
Yeah.
It looks like they were done in one pass. See, we can't help ourselves, bloody Aussies. Can't help ourselves.
I saw that, mate. That's the first one I saw as soon as you flicked up on it. Of course you did.
We can't bloody help ourselves. But again, it looks like they're done. It looks like it's done in one pass. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Look, Ben, I'm with you in terms of the lines look very uniform. That's what I'm looking for. That's the word I was looking for. Uniform in their depth and the way in which they're done. I mean, to think about chiseling these in, it's, and the story that to try and debunk these about a dude just chiseling away, creating who managed to somehow put very accurate hieroglyphs up according.
It's actually it's not that they're accurate. What actually sold Muhammad is that they're inaccurate. It's this guy's writing shorthand.
Yep.
And the only way you would know that was shorthand of that time period is if you were in that time period.
In that time period, yeah.
And if this was done in the 50s and 60s, there was no professor with the knowledge to actually be able to do this full stop, end of story.
Yeah.
And what Muhammad said is true. It's like no one tried to take credit for it. If you were going to go and do 500 plus glyphs on a wall and not even take credit, just for what, just to, I don't know, like just to mess with people's heads, or so the fact that we can look, I'm sold. They're genuine.
Yeah.
That means that in 500 BC the Egyptians came here.
Yep.
Full stop, end of story. The who, what, when, where, why is basically the next UTC mystery.
That's the mystery that needs to be solved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing too that and Muhammad mentioned is these are cartouches.
Mm-hmm.
However, these cartouches, a cartouche is normally only for royalty,
Yeah.
but because old mate had just survived a ship crash, a shipwreck,
Yeah.
right? He decided to put him and like the captain and that in their own cartouches and in honor of them, right? And Muhammad's like,
Right.
in Egypt, you couldn't do that because
Yeah.
it's only for royalty. But he's like, who's going to get them if they're in Australia? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's another
It's
thing.
the kind of thing a survivor would do.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. And it's just, man, you know, that is the end. You didn't think that was 93 slides. We smashed through those.
Fair income.
Yep. That's the end. That's the end of tonight's presentation. Obviously, with many, many more things to go.
Yeah.
Right. Last one. That was a lot. My head hurts too. The craziest thing is we haven't even scratched the surface. And that's true.
Yeah. And that's, it's a lot to take in. We did punch through that very quickly.
Yeah.
But there's so much good information in there, man. So much good things to be unlocked.
And look, it is, as always, posing more questions than answers. But I think we have more knowledge to pose better questions.
Definitely.
Right? If you think about some of the in-depth stuff and the stuff we discussed tonight, like instead of just look, oh my God, massive stones. Hang on a minute. What is that stone under there doing? What's this doing? You know, let's honour the Romans that came here. Let's look at Göbekli Tepe. Look at the fill stones. What's the difference? How did they? You know what I mean? We're digging deeper.
Yeah.
We can accept.
Well, what's the tie between the Egyptians to Australia? Have they been to all the other sites that we mentioned?
Absolutely.
You know, if they came here, if we've got some evidence of them being here in one place at one time.
Yeah, where else were they?
Where else were they? Were they frequent visitors?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Why does the polygonal masonry on Easter Island pretty much look exactly the same as the masonry on the church at Gympie?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's just another anomaly. There's nowhere else where there's polygonal masonry.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And some of that stuff is I'm actually looking at the striations in the stone.
Mm-hmm.
So like those gouge marks,
Yeah.
Yeah. Some very similar stuff looking at Easter Island.
Yep.
Right. So it's not only similar size stones and similar building technique, it seems to be a similar
pattern on the surface.
pattern or cutting technique.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
but again, I'll go through that and have a bit more of a deeper dive. But yeah, brother, that's Megalithamania II.
Well, my friend, you've done a lot of bloody work there. That was awesome. It was a great presentation, filled with lots of good information and great photos to back it up.
Mm.
A lot of that stuff I hadn't seen before.
Well, that was my aim. That was
Mhm.
my aim, to show the depth of some of this stuff now. You know, like obviously when we started here 4 years ago, we were... it was the main... It's hard to say, but it was the mainstream stuff we were looking at.
Yeah, 100%.
Mainstream alternative archaeology.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas what I'm trying to do is, in order to refine the puzzle pieces, you need to look deeper.
Yeah.
You need to be in that observer space.
Get off the beaten track.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the field trips have been very important as well, because when you're digging in the dirt, you're looking at this stone stuff, you're looking at this, you're analysing the footage when you come back, you're talking, the knowledge that has come through over the last sort of 12 months or so is next level as well.
Mm.
And then having those perspectives just keeps adding, it either makes one dot stronger or it takes away another one. But either way, there's something, when we talk about unlocking the code, I feel like we're on the way. We're more than on the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that Australia is the missing link.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's how I feel. I feel like if we can tie Egypt, definitely, but if we could tie the builder culture from Easter Island or we can tie South America. There's genetic links in the bottom of South America. That's undeniable, right?
That's right. Yep.
So we can already tie South America to Australia, and we can already tie Egypt to Australia.
Yeah.
There's your polygonal masonry, and there's your hieroglyphs, right?
Yeah.
If we can prove that. Like, it's obviously there's a lot of physical evidence we've seen tonight.
Yeah.
However, if we can bolster,
Yes.
that then means that both of those civilizations were circumnavigating.
Yep. Both of those, or was it one civilization?
This is the point, right?
Yeah.
Are we talking about a builder culture? And there was an article I posted to the page today where it said that the Australian Indigenous may have got into the millions at one stage.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't surprise me. It's a big country, right?
Yeah.
And then I started, and it was actually Mr. Tomlinson that commented, and like they didn't take into account cataclysms. Like, I'm going to come back to, and I'm going to try and get in touch with the person who wrote that paper on the double impact in Gulf of Carpentaria.
Yeah.
I want to actually talk to that. I think it's a lady actually.
Mm-hmm.
How I'm going to look that up. I'm going to try and get in touch with her because I want her professional opinion on it.
Yeah.
Because that's a major cataclysm that happened in Australia, 540 AD.
Yeah.
Right? So that would definitely have had a major impact on the population here.
Definitely.
Like
Double impact being that close.
Yeah. Right. It sent the world into a mini ice age, right? For 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It aided the fall of the Roman Empire, froze everything in Japan. There's tree rings in Japan, etc., etc.
So if you're at ground zero of that event,
Yeah.
what's the
Like it's
fallout?
literally a few thousand k's north from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what effect does that have on
On
everything around you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what if the culture here was still at a level of advancement that was significant until that time, how much would have that wiped everything out? Like that's a question that has to be asked as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's unfortunate, however it happens.
Yeah.
But if we can start to join this together, I mean, if you think there's millions here, they reckon 100+ million in South America. That means at one point or another, the global population was over 1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a comfortable estimate. If we look at all the cities all over the globe, the major metropolises that are under the sand, etc., 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 that means at some point we're over 1 billion.
Yep.
Like that, I would say, is prior to the cataclysm.
To the cataclysm. Yeah.
Right? And then that puts into, then you can extrapolate from there. It's like that then puts into perspective how big was actually what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't have any concept.
It's one of those things you can't grasp.
No.
In terms of like, when you're talking about astronomical distances and stuff like that, you can't grasp those. And the cataclysm may just fall into another one of those categories.
It does. There's no superlatives, there's no descriptors that can actually truly make us understand.
Well, where I'm going right now is Randall Carlson's descriptions of the size of the floodwaters.
Yeah, you can't fathom the numbers. Yeah.
No, exactly. The size of the and
tons
the depths
of water,
and
the flow.
the amount of flow rate. Yeah. They're the same sorts of things.
Yeah.
And they're only trickle down effects from
the actual impact
that actually set it all off.
Exactly.
Was there a blast of ice that came off it that froze mammoths? I
think that's without a shadow of a doubt, personally. However, yeah, those mammoths and wolves and stuff that
rhinos and all that sort of stuff, all that megafauna, the North American megafauna.
And when they say, I think I'm trying to remember that I'm pulling numbers out at the moment. However, I think it's 70% of the megafauna were wiped out at that 12,800 year mark. That means us.
Yeah, we are megafauna.
We are megafauna.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, that means 70% of us.
Yep.
Right, we can't understand or fathom.
If we were to wipe out 70% of our population now, globally, the people who are left, are they going to have the technology that we have now? No. They are going to be wiped into the Stone Age.
Exactly.
Reset button. 70% of the population gone.
But see, that's 70% in the initial impact. What's the ongoing effect? What's the percentage of the nuclear winter and the fact that the sun didn't shine for 1,000 years? How do we grasp that?
Not only that, the fact that if you're in a technologically advanced civilization, you might be an artist.
Yeah,
you might be a dancer.
Yeah.
You might be You may not know. You may not be agricultural.
No, that's
you
right.
may not know how to farm.
No idea.
You may be separate from that life.
Yeah.
And you go to the supermarket and you buy your food or whatever you called it at that time.
Go to the market and get whatever you need to get. And like the one of the founding statements still rings true. There's answers in the past that can help us in the present and then help us, therefore, in our future. And that's one of the founding statements of Unlocking the Code. That's what we're trying to figure out. If you had told me 4 years ago that this is where we would be, I would have been, that's fucking awesome. Because it is. Like, we're not anywhere near unlocking the code. However...
nor will I think you ever could be.
No. We know nothing, right? The one pixel
That's-
in that screen is what we know compared to what is available.
That's
to know.
right.
You know, like that's
Exactly. That's why there's a percentage of the population that prays for the space daddy just to answer the questions.
That's right.
Someone who knows it, because the problem is no one will ever
never
truly know anything.
We'll
But
never
what
know.
we can do is take slivers of information that may help us for the future.
Yeah,
That's
and-
really all you can do.
Absolutely. And what I do find, the deeper I dig into this stuff and I see the other people that are doing it, is there's actually quite a community and quite a growing community behind these questions.
Yeah.
And I think what we can do with social media and the modern internet and all that sort of stuff is we can choose to make it work for us instead of us working for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we can do. And that's what I'm doing. That's how do you think Muhammad came on? How do you think I'm getting these? I'm beginning to venture out. And the work that's come before that you've been a part of, mate, and thank you very much, stands on its own now.
Mm.
Right? If someone looks at the podcast and goes, 131 episodes, right, that's not nothing.
No.
And then they start to listen to some of our older ones of these with megalithic stuff. That's quality work. You go back and listen to that. We're having a good time. However, the information is good.
Yeah.
And then we're just taking that to the next level. Well, brother, let's wind this up. Have you got any, out of curiosity, because I know I showed you a lot of new information, what was the craziest thing that you saw tonight that you hadn't seen before?
Oh, probably the Unfinished Obelisk.
I thought so.
Yeah. The scoops. The how, who, what, when, where, why.
Yeah.
How do you lift it? How do you move it? What's your thought process? Are you, all of those questions. That was probably the best part for me, personally.
I
Or the
thought
biggest,
it would be, yeah.
not the best, but because it was all quality, I'm saying the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the one you're going to go home and have a look at.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so you should. And the thing is, we didn't even get to Zakara. We didn't get to Luxor. We didn't get to a million other places. And let's not forget the list of countries that are there.
Exactly.
Like Malta's another one that we're going to look into. There's the Megalith Hunter on Instagram basically takes all these pictures of Malta. Very similar T-shaped pillars.
Mm-hmm.
In Ireland, very similar T-shaped pillars. These T-shaped pillars are turning up as well.
Yeah.
Which again gives us echoes of
A global.
the global
Yeah, exactly.
builder culture.
Exactly.
Well, brother, I think that's it.
Thank you very much for having me in, man. It was a
No worries,
very
dude. Anytime.
enlightening talk. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll sit down. Well, we have got some. We keep talking about UFOs, mate. That's probably going to be our next one.
There's some more stuff coming
There's
out.
more stuff coming out.
Yeah,
and
it's
some
good.
interesting theories. So we'll have a chat about that and sit down again in the near future.
I look forward to it.
Thanks, mate.
Till next we meet.
Cheers.
1, 2, 3, 4. I've seen her on the pavement, strolling in the sunshine. Her eyes were like a pool of pearls with an emerald swirl on the inside. As she passed by the hibiscus row, the colors blending with her clothes, and the only thing she wears for bling sunshine. Her eyes were